Hi guys! I'm going to show everyone tonight how to make homemade pie crust, and it's enough to make 2 pumpkin pies in 2 round 9-inch glass Pyrex dishes. I'm just going to wait and see if I have anybody who's going to jump on. I'll give it a few minutes and then I'm just going to jump right in. So far, no one yet. I'll just go ahead and wait. Hopefully you guys can see I have my board here that my father-in-law made for me when my husband and I got married. Because I have dated tile, he made me this really cool board that I can roll my cookies out onto, and pie crust, and anything that I need a flat surface for. So that's what I'm using tonight. Okay, so far no one, that's okay. No big deal. I'm just gonna dive right in. Okay, so for the pie crust, this is enough to make 2 pies or a big, large slab pie. That's where I actually discovered this recipe for pie crust. It's really good. It's one of the best pie crust recipes I've ever used, and that's why I'm using it again. I struggled for years and years with making pie crust, and it just never turned out right, and it wasn't flaky, and so I found this recipe and I'm sticking to it. I don't know if I can give anybody notifications. Let me see. Let's see. No, that's okay. All right, so hopefully everyone knows that I'm live right now. Anyway, so this recipe is going to be 2 1/4 cups flour, all-purpose flour, which I'll get my flour. Since no one, oh, I do have one viewer now. Okay, so 2 1/4 cup all-purpose flour to start this pie crust. Hi, oh, I did have a viewer. I'm not sure if anyone's actually on, but that's okay. I'm just gonna jump right in here. So 2 1/4 cups flour, and you know, measure it off. Put it in your bowl that you're gonna be mixing this into to make your pie crust. So there's 2 cups. Now I just need 1/4 cup flour. Okay, like I said, this is enough to make 2 round pies or 1 large slab pie. And then you're going to need salt in with your flour. Let's see. It says 3/4 of a teaspoon, which I don't have a 3/4 teaspoon, so I'm just going to eyeball it, almost a teaspoon of salt. And then it's going to be 2/3 cup. This is actually a lot of butter in this pie crust. That's probably what makes it really good. It was really flaky and flavorful, so that's why I really like this recipe. So 2/3 cup butter. And you're just gonna put that right into the flour. And you can either use a pastry cutter and cut your butter in. You can use your hands until you're gonna blend the butter into the flour until it, you know, kind of, you still see butter in it. You don't want to completely blend it all the way because what you're trying to do is leave little pockets of butter so that it has like flaky layers in your crust. And you're going to try not to touch it with your hands as much as possible, even when rolling it out, because the heat from your hands does melt the butter. So I'm just using a pastry cutter or a pastry blend. I don't know what you call it. I think a pastry blender or pastry cutter. Just cutting in the butter to my flour and my salt. And you guys can kind of see it's incorporating the butter into the flour. This is the first step to making pie crust. Some people do it in a food processor. That's how I used to do it. And I didn't, it kind of came out tough. So I don't like to do that anymore. Okay, so I'm gonna just kind of dive right in now. Let me get a fork and get all of this off. Okay, and I'm gonna kind of give it a good stir. Like I said, I'm trying not to melt the butter because you're gonna want those flaky layers of butter. Hi, Stacy. How are you? Thank you for watching tonight. I'm making homemade pie crust. I just showed what I put into my bowl here. You want kind of like, I like it where the butter is still kind of chunky because you're gonna want a pocket. What it does is create a pocket when it's baking in the oven, and it creates like a layer of buttery goodness in the pie crust. Okay, so here's my pie crust. It was let me go back to my recipe, 2 1/4 cup all-purpose flour. These are not going to be low carb, Stacy. I'm actually just doing regular recipes right now for Thanksgiving. 2 1/4 cups all-purpose flour. It was 3/4 teaspoon salt and 2/3 cup butter. It's a lot of butter, but this was the best pie crust recipe I've ever used, so I'm going to use it again. Okay, so then what you want is, I have a cup of ice water because you want your water really, really, really cold. And you're going to add it by tablespoon and incorporate it into the flour and butter mixture. The reason that you want it really, really, really cold is so that you're not melting your butter when you're adding water in. So that's 1 tablespoon. You just kind of mix it in. 2 tablespoons. Okay, I'll put in like 4 tablespoons of ice water. And I'm gonna incorporate that in. How are you, Stacy? Are you at work today or are you at home? And I'm just gonna kind of work it in. I don't know, I have the comments on so I can't, hopefully you can see what I'm doing. I'm just working the water and making a dough, a pie crust. So that was 4, so now I'll do 2 more, 5, 6 tablespoons of water, ice cold water. And I can see it's kind of coming together. You're my only viewer, Stacy. I just kind of dove right in. I know some people are really busy. It's Sunday night. I just wanted to show everybody my homemade pumpkin pies and crust. And you can, I'm gonna try and hold it up. That's okay. I was wondering if actually I was having problems with the live feed because I could see people and then they would go away. So you can kind of see it's getting kind of chunky. There's big chunks of butter still in my flour. And that's what I want. So I'm gonna add 1 more tablespoon, see how that goes. I might not need 8 tablespoons. The recipe does call for 8, but you get a feel for it when you're making pie crust. That's, no what? Andrew? Hi, Andrew! Okay, so, like I had said, and you also don't want to overmix this. So I'm going to do another one because it's still kind of wet. So that's 8 tablespoons of ice water so far that I've added into here. It's okay, Keelan, you can come out. Okay, so I still see big chunks of butter. That's exactly what I'm looking for. You want, like I said, those big chunks of butter because they're going to create a flaky pocket inside. Hi, Andrew. It's going to create a flaky pocket inside of your crust, inside of your pie crust. So I can kind of pick one up and show you guys. This is a big chunk of butter that's covered in flour. So it still has big chunks. So now what you're gonna do, and do it as quickly as possible because you don't really wanna handle the butter, is you're gonna try and get it together as a dough. Let's see if I like the way that this is. If it comes together, then it's ready to roll out. It can still be maybe a little bit shaggy, that's okay too. Hold on one second. Okay, go ahead. Anyway, sorry, our phone's ringing. Yeah, this looks pretty good to me. Okay, so I'm just gonna dump it out onto my board. Like I said, this is enough to make 2 pies or 1 large slab pie. Someone else, how's? Oh, hi, Jen. Okay, so this might still need just a little tiny bit of ice water. Let's see. I just kind of want this to come together as a dough. I love this pie crust recipe. Like I said before, it's enough to make a large slab pie, which is what I've made out of it before, a caramel apple slab pie, and it was delicious. Or it's going to be enough if you roll it out thin enough to be, or to work for 2 9-inch circular Pyrex pie dishes. Okay, so what I want to do, since I got that all together, is you want to flour your board or your surface, whatever surface you're using. I am using my board that my father-in-law made for me when my husband and I got married, because I have tile, so it's really hard to roll out things flat. Hi, Jen. So he made this for me after my husband and I got married, and I have used it. I mean, on the other side, you would see that it has like food coloring, and it's been well used. So, okay. All right, so now that I got this together for my pie crust, like I said, you don't want to overhandle it because you want to keep that butter cold. So what you're going to want to do is roll it out. It is kind of thick because it makes a lot. You're going to want to roll it out. Let me flour my rolling pin. Can you guys see my rolling pin and my board? I'm not sure what you guys can actually see since the comments are in the way. Okay, I'm going to sprinkle a little bit of flour on top of this. It's nice and buttery. I can still see all of that butter inside of it. That's what you want. You don't want to overhandle it so that you don't melt your butter. You want nice, big, flaky pockets. That's one thing I've learned. I had a struggle with pie crust for years. I was never good at making it, but I am getting better. This may have needed a little bit more water in it, but I'm gonna make it work. And then you just roll it out, kind of roll it out thin. You don't want a like super thick pie crust. I don't even really like pie crust, but that's what's gonna go on the bottom of our, hi Karen, that's what's gonna go on the bottom of our pumpkin pies. Hold on, let me see. Sorry, okay, you can see everything awesome. Butter, yes, lots of butter. Okay, so I can, oh, that's okay, Karen. I'm making 2 homemade pumpkin pies, homemade pumpkin pies and homemade crust. If you guys can see it, that's awesome. This is, Karen, the board that your dad made for me after Dave and I got married to put on my counter or my table, because I have that dated tile and it's really hard to roll out cookies and pie crust. So, I kind of told I did the pie dough already, or the crust, and it was 2 1/4 cups all-purpose flour, 3/4 teaspoon salt, and 2/3 cup butter. It's a lot of butter, but it makes a super flaky, buttery, like pockets of butter in the crust. And then you just use a pastry blender is what I think it's called. And you kind of incorporate the butter a little bit into the flour, and then you add the ice cold water. Always use ice cold, like I have ice cubes in my cup, so that you don't melt your butter. And then when it comes together as a dough, you're going to roll it out onto a floured board, as you know, as thin as possible, because I do want to get 2 pies out of this. I'm not very good at rolling it, but I want to get 2 pies, or like I said, it does make 1 large slab pie. I made a large caramel apple slab pie for a group before, and oh my gosh, it was so good. I think I'm just limited on space because I have my stand mixer up here. So let me try and move some stuff out of my way really quick. And I'm still here, I'm just rolling it out. If you guys can see me. I don't know if you guys can actually see. I have the phone strapped to a contraption to hold it, tilted down so I can't take it down, but it has so many pockets of butter inside the dough. And that's exactly what you want. And you don't want to like work with it too much because like I said, you don't want to make it tough. I haven't made this for a while. Like I said, I struggle with pie crust, so just bear with me. Okay, awesome. I'm glad you guys can see. With the comments on, I can't actually, whoops, I'm flipping stuff all over. I can't actually see what you guys can see, so I'm hoping that you guys can see it. Okay. Oh, it's kind of sticking a little bit. All right, maybe I'll just do 1 pie just to show you guys. I am making 2 pies though, but I don't know if this is gonna be large enough to make 2 right now. So, or just for the sake of time, because this is probably gonna be time consuming. Because you wanna roll it out, like I said, kind of thin. You don't want like super thick crust. I used to make a deep dish crust, but now I just kind of do. All right, I'm just gonna use one of these pie dishes. And yeah, I didn't roll it out thin enough, I don't think, but that's okay. Hold on, let me grab a knife really quick. I did forget a knife. And I'm just gonna cut a circle out, an overlapping circle, because you're gonna wanna flute your crust. So I hope you guys can see what I'm doing. I'm just cutting around the dough. I'll save the rest of the dough and roll it out for another pie later. Oh, let me see if I can pick it up. Okay, so. Just take all the excess. I'm still gonna use all of this pie crust, so. The last time I made this crust, I did it on my table. I had sanitized my table, so I had lots of space to roll it out. So you guys can see I have like a circle. And so what I'm gonna do is I'm going to, and it's kind of thick. That's what I didn't want. Okay. I don't wanna have like super thick bottomed crust here. Okay. So then what you're gonna do is you're gonna kind of pick it up. Oh, maybe I needed to flour my board a little bit more. Let me get a spatula. I'll get it picked up. Yeah, it's kind of sticking a little bit. That's okay. Pie crust is forgiving. Like I said, I struggle with pie crust, so, and I always have. I don't know why. I love to bake and I love to cook and bread and all of those things, but for some reason, pie crust is not my friend. Okay. I think I got it off of the board. Okay, so then what you're gonna do is you're gonna roll it onto your rolling pin. And I have the kind that is on a, I don't really know what it's called, but it kind of turns on its own. So let me try that again. It's spun off. Okay, and then you're gonna roll it back onto your pie tin. Or not tin, it's a glass dish in this case, but. So I actually did some research about pumpkin pies. You don't want to freeze a fresh pumpkin pie, I guess. I didn't know that because I was actually going to bake them and freeze them. Yeah, it's, you know, I think butter is good. It's a really good pie crust. But I will say, I used to use Crisco and now even learning about keto and stuff like that, lard probably makes a really, really good pie crust. And it's okay to have. So, okay, so as you guys can see, I kind of put it in my pie dish, okay? So then I'm gonna set this off to the side and I'm gonna make the filling. Oh, I forgot to get out my pumpkin. Oh, okay. All right, so my pie crust actually looks pretty good. I'm gonna flute it so it'll look pretty, obviously. Hold on once again, I'm gonna move it off to the side. Actually, I'm just gonna move the whole, I'll move the whole bench so you guys can see my stand mixer. I'll just set it right there. You can see it here in the background. Okay, so then, my hands are kind of greasy. I'll show you guys the filling. Can you guys see this angle? Let me wash my hands and move the comments off really quick. Can you get me the 2 bags of pumpkin out of the refrigerator, please? I did forget the pumpkin. Thank you. Okay, can you guys see? Let me swipe. Okay, you can see inside my stand mixer. Awesome. Okay, so, oops, I flung some pie crust in there. Not frozen. The ones in the refrigerator. Did I say freezer? I might have, sorry. Okay, so the fresh pumpkin puree that I had made is what I'm actually going to be using in the pies tonight. 1 pumpkin pie, like 1 Libby's pumpkin pie, if you use her recipe, it calls for a 15-ounce can of pumpkin, and these are 2 cups, which is 16 ounces, because 8 ounces is 1 cup, so I just use a little bit extra of pumpkin to give it a little bit more pumpkin flavor. So, okay. Now that we have the crust, now we're gonna start our filling for our pie. And I have everything sitting off to the side. I just don't have a big counter, so bear with me. So the first thing we're gonna do is we're going to put sugar, and it's gonna be 3/4 cup sugar. Actually, it's not, I'm doubling it. What did we say it was again? I forgot already. 3/4 times 2. Oh, it's 1.5, right? Okay, so 1.5 cups sugar, because I'm doubling this recipe to make 2 pies. 1.5 cups sugar. Into your mixer, just measure it out. Okay, so 1.5 cups sugar. And then, because Libby's pumpkin pie recipe, my kids said is very bland, I like to spice it up myself. So I use a tablespoon of cinnamon. Instead of, for her recipe, it calls for like 1 teaspoon per pie. So I'm doing a tablespoon, which is 3 teaspoons. Kind of keeping, we love spice and cinnamon, okay? So 1 tablespoon cinnamon, 1 teaspoon, since I'm doubling the recipe, you're gonna want 1 teaspoon of salt. Okay, and then I'm gonna say, let's do, because, okay, I forgot to explain to you guys. So I can't use nutmeg in pumpkin pies or any pumpkin baked things because our daughter has a nutmeg allergy. So what I use as an alternative is allspice, because it has that nutty flavor like nutmeg. It still has kind of the same taste. Just she's not allergic to it. This is made out of a nut also, I think from a fruit, and they grind it, so is nutmeg. But whatever that the fruit is, or the seed from the nutmeg plant or fruit, our daughter is definitely allergic to it. So I use allspice as an alternative. So I'm gonna put allspice in here, and I'm gonna do, let's do 2 teaspoons of allspice. Sometimes I just kind of, I don't know, do what I want for recipes, because you know, you can. I think every recipe needs to be doctored typically. So unless you find something really good, then keep that recipe. Okay, so then for ginger, it's 1 teaspoon of ginger. Ginger is kind of strong, and I don't want to overpower it. It can be kind of spicy. And then 1/2 teaspoon of cloves, since I'm doubling this. Okay, so 1/2 teaspoon of cloves. All right, so that's our dry mixture. I'm gonna kind of whisk this up a little bit together. You can use a paddle attachment on your stand mixer. or the whisk one. Either works. I've used both. You can also use a hand mixer if you don't have this hand mixer. That works. You know, that's kind of the old-fashioned way of doing it before they had these mixers anyway. So I just kind of want to incorporate the spices into the sugar before I add our wet ingredients. That smells really good. Okay, and then what we're gonna do is we're gonna add our eggs, and it's gonna be 4 eggs because, like I said, I am doubling it. So 4 eggs right into the mixer. Hopefully you guys can still see what I'm doing. Yeah, you can, okay. One more egg, so 4 eggs. So now we're gonna incorporate all of our wet ingredients, which is gonna be our eggs, our pumpkin. Also, let me wash my hands. For the pumpkin pie recipe usually calls for carnation evaporated milk or evaporated milk. Since I made a low-carb pumpkin pie, I actually really love using the heavy whipping cream. It made a really rich pie, and it's lower carb. So I'm going to measure out heavy whipping cream for the custard part. Okay, so now I'm dumping in my pumpkin, and it's 4 cups of my fresh pumpkin that I made the other night. Or if you're using a can, it's going to be 2 15-ounce cans or one of those large cans of pumpkin, and I think they're made by Libby. So, fresh pumpkin. I actually bagged this fresh again today. I'm going to have to kind of slow down on the pumpkin puree because I'm going to need my refrigerator for pies and stuff like that for Thanksgiving. So I had to kind of slow down on that today. Okay, so now for the heavy whipping cream, instead of a can of evaporated milk, I'm using heavy whipping cream. And it's going to be, so for each pie it says 12 ounces, which is 1.5 cups. So we're going to do 3 cups total then, because we're doubling it. It's going to be really rich, really creamy. And one of these is 2 cups. I already knew that, but I'm measuring it out. Because like I said, I am doubling it, so we're going to need 3 cups total. And it's very, very, very thick. But it's, it says there's no carbs in heavy whipping cream, so it's definitely lower carb, lower sugar. This isn't going to be a low carb pie, but you know, for the sake of, I did make one and it made a really creamy, delicious pie, so that's why I'm choosing to use the heavy whipping cream again. And we want 1 cup of that. So 3 cups total of the heavy whipping cream, and now we're just going to mix it all up. It has everything in there. Started out on slow to kind of incorporate everything together. And then you can turn it up. I have splashed myself with this mixer several times. I need to get a splash guard, so. Okay, now we can go a little bit faster. You guys can see it's kind of mixing the pumpkin, the spices, the milk, the eggs, everything together. I don't want it to splash over the side, but turn it up for a minute. And then, once it's all incorporated, make sure there's none on the bottom. Let me get my rubber spatula and scrape the bottom just to make sure there's none left on the bottom here. Once it's all incorporated like this, then I'm gonna go get my pie crust, and I'm gonna split this in half. I did only do 1 crust for right now, just to show you guys. I want to make sure this is fully incorporated. Okay. So let me get my crust. And then you're going to pour your filling into the crust, not all the way to the top because it will puff up. And then once it cools, it goes back down with a custard pie like pumpkin. So let me try and move this off to the side a little bit. It's stuck to my counter. Okay. So then you're gonna pour your filling in. I'm probably gonna make a mess right now, but that's okay. I just want to show you guys. About 3/4 full. Like I said, you don't want to fill it all the way up because it will puff up. Maybe just a little bit more. And then I'm gonna flute my edge of my pie crust. And the first thing that you're gonna do is, I'm gonna put this in the sink really quick, is you're going to bake it off at 425 degrees for 15 minutes, just to kind of set the custard. And then you're gonna turn your oven down and you're going to bake it for 40 to 50 minutes, depends on your oven. I call my oven Fast and Furious, so probably 40 minutes my pie will be finished. So what I'm doing now, I don't know what you guys can see. The edging that I had on my pie crust, I'm kind of flipping it over the little bit, and then once I flip it all over, then you can make a really pretty design for your pie crust. So, I mean, easy enough, right guys? To make your own homemade pumpkin pie, homemade pie crust, homemade anything really. To me, it's not really super hard, complicated. I don't do it a lot. Like I said, my husband and I are doing low carb, so it's kind of gotten rid of my desire to bake, which is kind of sad. Because I know if I bake it, I smell it. I never really ate like that many of the treats and goodies that I made for the family, but I don't know, just now I don't have the desire to bake since we're doing low carb. But for the holidays and for Thanksgiving, it's all bets are off. So, okay, so now you're gonna like flute your crust, which people do it lots of different ways. I do it anyway. Like I use my thumb in between my two fingers. You can do a fork. I've seen it where people just put a fork around the edging. And then you just kind of go all the way around the pie and make a pretty crust. And then it'll get baked on a cookie sheet. You do want to bake your pumpkin pie on a cookie sheet since it is a custard. It does raise up because it's, you know, like a souffle in a way with eggs. And it can go over the edge. This one probably won't, but you do want to bake a custard pie like this on a cookie sheet, just so that you don't have a giant mess in your oven, in case it does, you know, overflow or go over the edge. Okay, I'm almost done. Did you guys have any? Oh, I forgot to swipe the comments back on. I'm sorry. Okay. No questions? I know a lot of people buy pie crust or buy already made pies at the holidays. I really like to make my own stuff. So I enjoy it, and I know that the kids really love pumpkin pie. I'm not a big, had to stop away. Okay. Yeah, I added 4 eggs, Jennifer. And it was 4 cups of pumpkin. And then I added, let's see, I think I added a tablespoon of cinnamon because we kind of like it with seasoning. It looks pale because of the heavy whipping cream. Instead of evaporated milk, it would be darker. Because the heavy whipping cream is so white and so thick, it makes a lighter pie. But I did love the richness that the heavy whipping cream gave the low carb pumpkin pie that I made. That's why I chose to use the heavy whipping cream again. I'll go over the list of ingredients. It had 1.5 cups sugar, 1 tablespoon cinnamon, 1 teaspoon salt, 1 teaspoon ginger, 1/2 teaspoon of cloves, 4 eggs, 4 cups of pumpkin puree that I had made, 3 cups of heavy whipping cream, And then I added 2 teaspoons of allspice because that's my nutmeg alternative, since Kaylin can't have nutmeg. So this is what it looks like when you're all finished. Hi, it says Jennifer is on here. Let me see. Is watching. I'll wave. Hi, she lives in Florida. Hi, Jennifer, how are you? I'm so glad you could tune in to watch me. I am finished with my first pie already, but you guys can catch it on the replay. I just wanted to show you guys how easy it is to make a homemade pie crust. It's going to be buttery and flaky and delicious. And then this is my homemade pumpkin filling, which I just went over the ingredients. I actually made enough for 2 pies because I'm going to roll out some more dough and make another pie. And then I'm actually either we're going to eat one tonight or I'm going to make more before Thanksgiving. But what I'm going to do is, if we don't eat it, wrap them. After they're finished cooling, I'm going to wrap them and put them in the refrigerator. We're only 4 days away from Thanksgiving, and they'll be really nice and set by Thanksgiving Day. Since they are a custard, you do want them to cool and kind of be refrigerated before you eat them. So I'll go over the list of ingredients again. Oh, for the pie crust, I think Jen didn't log in for the pie crust. I can give you the ingredients for the pie crust. It's a really, really, really good pie crust. Let's see. Well, she's still on. Okay. So Jennifer, my cousin Jennifer, it was 2 1/4 cups flour, 3/4 teaspoons salt, and then 2/3 cup butter. And it's a lot of butter. It like filled up a whole bowl, but it has tons of butter pockets in it. So that's what I really love about this recipe, is that it's a really flaky, it creates that layer in between the flour and the butter, and it makes like a flaky layer when you have butter, big chunks of butter in the pie crust. Stacy, you're at work? Well, good luck to you. Just kidding, no. I can't wait to open a daycare and actually start that. So I'm excited about that too. Let's see. So I went over, let's see, who else is watching? Hi, Melody. It says she's watching, but then I don't see actual people watching. I think they log back off, but that's okay. Oh, it says my dad was watching, but I don't know. Okay, so anyway, I went over the list of ingredients for the pie crust, Jen, and then I went over the ingredients I used Libby's pumpkin pie, her recipe, as a guide, but I doctor up her recipe because I made it. Thank you, Karen. I made it, this was a long, long time ago, and DJ's like, it's so bland, and I'm like, okay, you're right, let's add more spice. So I kind of doctor it up myself. And then I'm going to bake this off at 425 for 15 minutes. And then you're going to turn your heat down to 350 and bake it for another 40 to 50 minutes, probably 30 in my oven. It doesn't take very long. I nicknamed it Fast and Furious. So I have a very hot electric oven. Anyway, and then actually probably when it sets a little bit at the 15-minute mark, I might cover my crust with some aluminum foil. Because my oven is so hot, it has a tendency to burn pie crust. So thank you. Thank you guys for watching. So that's basically it. I'm gonna roll out another pie and fill it, and we may eat one tonight and I'll make more. I still have a lot of pumpkin. Thank you guys for watching. Bye.